It's great to see you all here. Just to give you a bit of an overview, we're going to be discussing the use of AI and how that's been going within the companies, and we've got some special guests here to talk to us. And in terms of the people, I'm just going to give a quick introduction to the committee. So I believe we have Robert Schuler on the call. I think I saw him come in. He is actually the sponsor of our virtual conference this month. So Robert, hi to you, and thank you very much for being our sponsor. I'll come to you in a minute because I know you have quite new ideas on how AI is. And then we have some of our other members of our committee here. So we have Ricardo, please give a wave. We have Clinton, hi Clinton. Ross Koppel is also here. And then we have, I believe I saw Val come in as well, if I'm not mistaken. So big thank you to the committee for joining us and being part of the session today. If you could all get your cameras on so that we can be seeing your face, that would be great. If it is able to happen, no problem. We're also joined today by our team at Nexia, who are going to give us shortly a quick presentation on their use of AI and how they've been helping their clients with it. So we have Tony Dormer here, who's actually also a member of IR Global. We have Fabio, and we also have Nielsen joining us, who will be speaking through different processes. But a big thank you to everyone for getting involved with the conversation as well. I did just quickly want to go to you, Robert. I know you're in the process of installing some AI within the firm, and I just wanted to ask you how that's going, and just give a general overview for everyone on the call to get it started. Robert, you're on mute.
Okay, I think.
There we go.
Yeah. So, hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Something is. Okay. I can't see anything, but I'll get started. So we've decided we decided probably halfway last year that it kind of started with the fact that we're in a multi-language environment. Still in Thailand, English is a critical language. The majority of our clients are not foreigners. So we started looking at AI as a way to try to just simply improve some of the content and some of the drafting. So what we decided to do is we were approached by several companies. Microsoft happens to be in our building, so they approached us, and then another company called Legora. I think there's 3 systems that are out there right now: Legora, Harvey, and CoCounsel. They all are a bit different and work differently and better in different jurisdictions. So we're in the process of trialing 2 of the programs at the moment. And so a couple of things that we found is that the lawyers that are participating in the trial, I said there's kind of a high correlation, on the return on the investment or time they put into the system with their familiarity with AI. So most people are not using AI properly. I mean, they know nothing about prompting, prompt engineering. They haven't seen how prompting is developed, has evolved from like the earliest versions of ChatGPT to the newer versions of ChatGPT. So the output we see is different lawyers have different experiences. I mean, a lot of people are saying I'd rather use ChatGPT or Gemini for the work that I'm doing. So the other thing that we've noticed is that I think it's quite important that the off-the-shelf systems that you have really depend on firms having well-established practices related to data management. So for you really to get the most out of them, you need to have, you really should have a data management system like iManage is one, or NetDocs is another one, or SharePoint is a possibility. But even once you have data management within the firm, you need to have standardized templates. You need to have kind of a process of establishing best documents, for the various different types of work within a practice area. You need to sanitize, clean the documents, and you need to be able to use that as precedent. I mean, they use something called retrieval augmentation, where they're pulling additional data outside of the LLMs. So we saw that as kind of a challenge, in that while we're looking at AI, we're also having conversations with iManage and NetDocs in terms of which program are we going to implement in the office. In the short term, we're working with SharePoint. So that's been a bit of a challenge in terms of using some of the functions that are quite useful, like the vaults, where you can load your best practice documents that are all in forms, and you can use that as a reference point, plus the information that exists in the system. The other thing that we found is that you need to go in and really test the system to see how accurate it is. So we're in Thailand, where most of these companies, I would say, are not really up to date on tracking current information. The other thing that these systems do, particularly like Legora, is they also will track what's usually like paywalled information. So like we all probably get these emails like law.com, and you can click on something that's interesting, but you need to subscribe to get any more information. So a lot of that is actually available. So you've got real-time, up-to-date information that can be very useful, but there's not as much of that being created in this specific jurisdiction. That kind of leads us to, the conversation on, is it better for us to, continue on, or is it better for us to build in-house? Do we need to prioritize with the data management systems? Do we need to, or I mean, can we use AI to help us with building our data management systems? Is a conversation that we're having with an AI engineer that's doing some consulting, as well as we look at the different options. So at the moment, we're still looking at the systems as it relates to Thailand and saying they're probably not where they quite need to be yet. Also, this kind of the fluency or familiarity with AI, we need to have some training in-house, so more of the lawyers understand it, just in a fundamental sense. The other thing that we find is that there's quite a bit of, there's not a lot of transparency around pricing. So I don't even think we've had a single conversation on pricing with any of the systems that we're looking at. So, they're getting you hooked, and then we start talking numbers. And the other conversation that we're having in the firm is that are there specific AI tools that we would be building rather than looking at integrating like an off-the-shelf complete solution. And I think that's something that we probably will do. Just as an example, where we've run into issues. A practical issue is we have to translate documents from English or other languages into Thai. The documents are highly sensitive. In the past, we would send those documents out to a translator. The translator would manually translate the documents. So there was an element of, I guess, security so to speak. But now what's happening is we can't use our lawyers, and the lawyers can't then take these documents and put them into ChatGPT or into Gemini and translate them. But now we know when we're sending them up to translators, the translators are just putting the documents into these systems. So, I mean, one of the tools that we're probably going to build in-house will be like a translation agent, which is something I think that we can build, and we can pretty effectively train. Anything that comes into the office, we need to revise anyway, which gives an opportunity to train model. But overall, I mean, I think what we're convinced of is that this will be something that we'll have to use moving forward on complex transactions. I mean, certainly like due diligence. Some of the tools on these systems are pretty impressive. You can dump massive amounts of data, and you can have a prioritize data on materiality thresholds, and you can then segment it based on employment, supply, inventory, et cetera. So we're committed to get on the path. We haven't decided yet on what the best solution is. But I mean, the one thing that we're certain of is we really need to focus on DMS as a priority.
Thank you very much, Robert. Sorry, can I just quickly post in? We don't have much time, so if you could just round it up, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep, I'm rounded up.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just gonna pass over to the Nexia team here, who are gonna do a quick presentation for you before we go into a few breakout rooms. Fabio, off to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it. And Robert, I was just listening to what you're saying. Very, very interested, because I think we are now in a space where people are looking to decide on how we use AI, and hopefully we can share some of our experience in Australia. So let me just introduce myself first. I'm the CEO of a company called Nexia. We are a services company that develops AI for businesses. And essentially, we deliver solutions for businesses so that they can actually use AI today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the PowerPoint. What I'd like to do today, if possible, is to spend some time with you showing what is the day in the life of a Nexia workforce today, because we are going to apply some of the concepts that people are discussing, and perhaps help you to understand what this idea of agents and how these things are going to transform. Just before we jump into a little demo, which will take us about 10 minutes, let me introduce myself a little bit. I've been in technology for over close to 40 years. I've done a lot of work in many different areas. I am a company director. I am a CIO of a number of companies in Australia. And in my spare time, I enjoy doing some of the AI work that we are here doing today. So a fair amount of experience. And today where I sit is, I believe we are about to see one of the largest transformations we've seen in a long time. And in the way that I look at this, this is bigger than the internet that we've seen in the past, much bigger. And it is transformative on how companies and people will have to adopt and adapt to be able to survive in a new AI based environment. So again, I know you're hearing a lot about AI. So before we spend too much time on this, let's jump into what I want to show you. So first of all, what I want to show you today is what we call digital clerks or AI clerks. Essentially, these are AI-enabled solutions which deliver on your internal business process. So these are custom agents built for you that understand your business and do exactly what you want them to do based on the processes that your organization does today. Okay, so let me take you through a couple of examples. I'm going to show you some documents very briefly so you understand what this is. So first, I have a Salesforce account. So we use Salesforce for demo regions, and we can show you that this is a support queue. We get queues in here, we get new cases, and I'm going to show you a support agent which takes the cases and processes them for you. I've got a couple of bills here. I'm just going to show you. This is a scan of a bill that I'm going to use in part of the presentation. I'm going to show you a application form where this particular company wants to respond to forms in an automated way. I'm going to show you a contract document where a company wants to assess the risk in a particular document against some of their terms and conditions internally. And finally, I'm going to show you briefly some of the work that we can do in terms of providing customer service and we are simulating a New South Wales services environment. Okay, just to give you a sense of what that is. So let's jump into what we call Nexia. Let me just move my sharing here, and I'll get you into Nexia. Okay, so if you're familiar with a ChatGPT interface, it's exactly the same model. Okay, you have a chat interface, and what you see on the side is a number of agents. Okay, I have a bill agent, I have a business analyst, I have a bunch of agents in here that I can use for any reason I like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start one of these agents. So the first one is a bill and receipt extractor. Okay, so for this particular agent, let me say I'm new in the company. I don't know what this agent can do for me. I'm going to simply type that in, and what can you do? And I'm very busy today. It's my busy day. So I'm going to go and say, I also need to go and do a contract risk analysis. So I've got a bunch of contracts that I received from my suppliers, and I like to be able to check those contracts. So I'm going to go and upload one of these contracts and show you what this agent is. So the only thing that I've done here is I uploaded a file, which is a PDF file containing that contract that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to tell my agent to process that file. Okay, that's all I need to do. Bang. So now the agent goes away and starts doing its work. Now I also know that I have an employee that's starting in March, and I like to be able to get this process underway. So I can ask for what this, let's say, I don't know what I need to do here. I'm new. How do I get an employee onboarding? Okay, so I can help you. To start an employee onboarding, I need a full name, I need a private email address, and the department that you're going to be working on, starting date. So I'm going to answer this by saying Bob Smith, Bob at test.com. He is in engineering. And he's going to start on 23rd March 2026. Okay, chat interface. Now I'm going to let that guy go away and do its work. And now I'm coming down to this. I've got to respond to this RFP that I got for the Heart Foundation. So I'm going to upload that file that I mentioned to you before, that form, which essentially contains an application form. And I'm going to tell my agent to process that form by extracting all of the fields from the form. And then later on, I'm going to tell this agent to go and answer those questions based on a knowledge base that I've given it. So the agent's going to go ahead and start doing some work. And finally, I want to go to my support agent, which is, in this particular case, I want to know if there are any new pending cases in my Salesforce environment. So I'm just going to ask first, list new cases. This is chat. I can enter this in any form that I like, exactly as you see today. So let's go back to this guy. It's the first one that we saw. Okay, so this one, what can you do? It's an automated financial document extraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload 2 documents to that. I'm going to upload that receipt that I showed you before. I'm going to upload a second one, and I'm going to tell it to process again. So when I tell this agent to process, it knows exactly what it has to do, because these agents are coded for my company. They know what they need to do. They know the systems they need to talk to, and they will do exactly what's what's required of them. So let me take you back here first. So in the contract risk analysis, so what this agent is doing, and for all of you folks, I'm going very quickly through this because I only have 10 minutes and I like to show you some of these concepts very, very quickly. But you can see at the top, the stages that this particular business process is going through. I had to upload a document, I had to extract the information, I have to assess the information and review. That is the process that they define. So in this particular case, it's telling me that they extracted all the fields and they highlighted a couple of issues for me to have a look at. And I can go ahead and then review what that content is. So in this particular case, it's gone through my contract. It's extracted the address, the company ABN, company names, extracted all the information that I asked this agent to extract for me. And then it's also, in addition to that, is highlighting particular issues that I should be considering. For example, that I have a very tight notice period in this particular contract, that I have latent conditions, which is a particular term that they use in engineering, and also that the next ABN number is incorrect. Okay, so this agent just gone away, had a look at this, and based on the rules that we've given it, has highlighted those for me. Now, as a user, I could go and say, no, this is okay. It's okay, and I can say that's okay too. And I can save these notes into my agent. And that becomes a system of records that I could later on use to make sure that all of our processes have been followed. I have options to expand and to save that document in different locations. I can save it to Word, and I can store it in SharePoint, and I can do whatever I need. So from a risk perspective, what you're seeing is an agent that delivers on that risk assessment, the report that you need to see, and then a human would take that on to be able to continue that work. Okay, so that's the contract. So let's go back to our employee onboarding, the other guy that I was starting up. So my agent got this simple request from me, Bob, that is now saying, "What? I've got all the details I need. Can you confirm that it is Bob? Can you confirm that's the email address? He's worked for engineering and he starts on the 23rd. And if I confirm all of this, so this, you will hear this conversation in many circles in AI as a reference to human in the loop. Essentially, it's the agent asking me to confirm before the agent takes an action. So proceed. And the agent is going to move on and start taking that forward as part of the information collection that has been set out. Let's go back to the RFP responder. I'm just going to close this for a second. So the agent is telling me that they've gone through the document. They extracted all the information that was required from that document, and it's ready for me to review. And that information sits beside me. So essentially, if you recall, there was a form containing a bunch of questions. The agent has gone through the form and has extracted all of these pieces of information. Okay, this is what the form is requesting me to complete. What I'm going to do now, I am going to add a document to tell where to get that information from. And that document is my knowledge base. And in this particular case, I'm going to add the annual review for that particular company. And I'm going to tell the agent to go, what's the primary purpose of the organization? Just answer that question for me. And I'm going to look at the whatever questions I have in here, I can ask my agent to answer one by one, or I can ask my agent to go and answer all of those questions in one go. And simply just by doing that, so here's an example. I'm not sure if you can read that very well, but this agent has just gone through my document. This is the question in my form. What's the primary purpose of the organization? And extracted that information ready for you to consume. So I'm essentially done. All my review, all of my data extraction is finished. I can export this, I can save this any way I like, and my job is complete. So that's kind of RFP. I dealt with that. Finally, I'm going to look at my support agent. My support agent is picking up those cases from Salesforce, as you imagine, as I mentioned before, and is telling me that there is a case for purchasing a property, there is a case for a parenting payment, and I'm just bored at the moment, so I'm just going to go and say, look, reply to all of this. Proceed to answer all of these. So essentially, my agent is going to go through each one of those, find the response from our knowledge base, and is going to save a draft email back in Salesforce that is ready for a human to review and then send to their to a citizen in this particular case. And now I'm going to take you back to my bill extractor. If you recall, I entered 2 bills in here. I'm just going to close this for a sec. So the agent is telling me that it has extracted that information and is giving me a couple of points in here. Particularly, it's actually calculating the value of those invoices. And it's noticing that they are incorrect. Because if you recall, that input that I put in was kind of it didn't look very clear. So as part of the extraction process, we detected that there is an error in some of those. And I can change this, I can view them, and I'll show you what that looks like. Remember, I uploaded 2 bills, bill 1 and 2. This is bill number 1. This is the contents of the bill. And you see down the bottom that the totals don't match. And I can ask my agent to make a change to this bill, or I can upload this bill exactly as it is. So in this particular case, I'm going to say it's approved. That's the way I want it to be. Not that you would do that as an accountant. And for the next one, I'm going to say, I don't want to upload this as part of my batch. Okay, so if you imagine this, I created a batch of bills that I can upload to my next process, which is my export. And my next process is to actually upload this to 0 in this particular case. But it could be on Dynamics, it could be to any system that you have. The point on some of this is that all of these clerks are operating dynamically. There is no assistance whatsoever, and they know exactly the process they need to do, and they will go through that process day in and day out, 24/7, doing exactly the process that you designed them to achieve. Right. So if you imagine a bunch of those working across your enterprise, you can really understand the power of some of these digital agents concepts. And just because someone mentioned multiple languages, I'm going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to ask my employee onboarding to send a reminder email to Bob. In what languages could we pick? Anyone? It's got a language?
French.
Turkish maybe.
Mongolian.
Okay, Mongolia. Yeah, Mongolia, you're pushing. I don't speak French. I hope this comes good. Only because Robert mentioned this difficulty in multiple languages, right? There are, as you can see, these tools. So those agents are using different tools out there. In this particular case, this agent is using OpenAI. He can use Claude, he can use Gemini, and we can set, it's pretty much agnostic on how we want to deal with some of these agents. I've never done this before in this demo, so I'm just going to see what happens. I'm very curious to see how that works. Does anyone speak French?
I think you made a very good point, Fabio. That's great.
So again, across the board, these agents, we haven't done anything to make these agents polyglots. It's a natural part of the LLMs. So we could potentially run this entire process, which is done in English today, in Thai or any other language you like. You could imagine your employees each one of them potentially using a different language to manipulate and to have a conversation with the agent. So that, anyway, was what I wanted to cover today, just to give you a sense of the power of some of these things. So if you go back and think of what I've just tried to show you, is this idea of digital clerks, where you have predefined enterprise agents that enable you to do a business process in exactly the way you wanted it to occur. So they will do that all the time, every day, 24/7, and they won't stop, which will give you a lot of power to reuse some of the workforce that you have, to really enable that workforce to do other things. Some of these mundane things that people do today, they will just absolutely disappear. And finally, before we close, I'm just going to show you that everything that we've done here is auditable. Everything is traceable. Every one of those runs, we have every single detail of every file that we manipulated, who did what and what they've sent. So from an enterprise point of view, that's designed to enable that reliability and traceability across any one of these things. There are many companies doing this. I hope this will help you to understand the power of these things and what's coming in the next age. We do this for our clients in Australia. It is a custom, each one of those agents is a custom agent for you and your business. And I think you'll see a large number of those in the coming years. So I will stop it here, and I will open up to questions or whatever Nicole tells us to do next.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Yeah, definitely to questions. So we've got one from Juliana in the chat. You mentioned that Nexia AI works like ChatGPT. How does Nexia silo data input and generated for a client? Is this information proprietary to that client, or is everything that is in the LLM fair game? Could you shed some light on this?
100% it belongs to the client. So, so there are two pieces you need to consider. One is where the agent runs. So the Nexia concept is that the agent runs in your company, under your IT infrastructure, anywhere you like. So if you're using Azure, we run in Azure. If you're using Google, we run there, and you control it. Nexia designs their processes to be run by your IT team. They will run it entirely. So the LLM itself, you have two options. You can sign up for an enterprise agreement with OpenAI or Gemini or Claude, and they will guarantee you that that data will commercially, there's a contract and a legal obligation on them that they will not use that data for any other reason than what you're using for your company. In a similar way today that you rely on Amazon and Azure, you're relying entirely on a contract that the information is going to remain confidential. The second option you have is to actually run some of these LLMs yourselves. So today it's possible that you can actually have your own version of OpenAI in your own data center. So OpenAI sells you that. As long as you have enough volume to be able to demand and to afford that, OpenAI will be more than happy to set that up, and you will have that everything under your control. So today it is absolutely easy and simple to have all of these things under an enterprise construct. So you manage everything from beginning to end.
Have we got any more questions from anyone? No, perfect.
If I could just make a very quick comment, Nicole. I think the real thing for us in practice is what you do is you have the very best practice software available in law or in accounting or whatever your professional service is. And these agents add value to the best that you've got. And in my opinion, over the next few years, the practice software plus these agents is going to multiply productivity 2 or 3 times over. And if you're not in it, you just will be left behind, you know. It's as simple as that.
I have a question. In this particular platform, what do you really need to invest in it in order to make it work for your particular set of clients or business?
Yeah, interesting, Peter. Thank you for that. Not a lot. So you'll get solutions for your business in the range of less than 100,000, 50,000, depending on what you need and how complex you are. So you can go much lower than some of this. It really depends on what your business is. So again, we've spoken before as a bank. Okay, a bank is a very different beast than a small provider.
I see.
So if you think of a small provider, then we have clients in Australia which are live with this software today for less than 20,000. Right.
I see.
So, but if you go into the enterprise spectrum, then the level of diligence, the level of process, the volume of documentation they have is much higher, and then you start getting into that higher end of 100K plus.
I see. Well, if it was 100K Chinese money, that will make more sense. But this is a lot. Very interesting. I think all depends on, I guess, the scale of it in terms of how much someone needs to invest. What about people resources? Do we need a team of fee earners on our end to support the customization of the platform so that it becomes worthwhile having a database and a library for us to utilize that for future clients?
Yeah, so the way we look at this is we create the agent. So there is a consulting piece that occurs and that we do initially. And by the way, that's done by agents. So for every client, if they come to us and say, I want to develop this process, let's say I want to develop an employee onboarding process for my company, right? Because our agents work with your systems. They are not requiring you to change systems. They are going to work with what you have, 100%. So we do a little scoping exercise with you to see what is your process. We then use our own digital agents to create the specifications for you very fast. And that becomes the beginning of how we price and how we finalize that with you. So that's kind of the development of the agent. In terms of running the agent over time, you have two forms. Okay, one is your IT team could run the agents entirely for you, or we could be commissioned to run the agent for you, and then we'll manage it for you. So those agents run unattended. Where it becomes important is when the agents are not doing exactly what you wanted them to do. Right? Then you need an expert in AI, which is us, to be able to look at these agents and to understand and to fine tune them, right? Because this is all, none of these things that I've shown you here today are prompted, are scripted. I've done everything on the fly. The French things is done entirely by agents, right? And if you think about this, what's happening here is for the first time in history, we have computers which can reason. Okay, I'll let that sink in because that's the first time in history that I don't have to program the computer to do something. It is deciding what to do. For any one of these processes in here, given the constraints that I've given it, which are very strong, then they will stay within those constraints only.
I've got one quick follow-up question. Is there a way for us to try a trial period, like 14 days, for us to kind of get into it, get familiar with the system, like it would be for ChatGPT or Claude AI or any of the other platforms? That will really help solidify in terms of how useful the platform is for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, very interesting, Peter. At the moment, we don't have a login and try as to see it. But I think what the best answer to this we'll be happy to have a chat with you and see if we can put a simple agent up for you, because we are from our perspective, we believe that we can do these agents fairly fast. We have the knowledge, we have the skills. So it is a little bit of a small consulting assignment for us to work with you for a day or two, no more, and we should be able to produce some results.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the challenge is really working out, what agent you want developed, Peter. There's no doubt it will be useful. The challenge is working out the agent that you need, and then once you have it developed, you'll see it creates huge savings. I mean, you only got to think about that 10-minute presentation. He basically did what would otherwise take maybe a day. If you think about onboarding a staff member, processing invoices, he should too, but he could have easily uploaded 100 invoices and had them processed in 10 seconds. So all those things, reviewed a contract and did a risk analysis on it, filled in forms. So if you think about all the things that were done and how long it would otherwise take you to do it, the cost saving versus the cost of preparing that agent is, it's an infinite return on investment.
Paul, have you got something to say as well?
Yeah, thank you. Paul Bear here, accounting firm across the UK, Singapore, and I currently happen to be sitting in New Zealand. So my comment is a little bit different and somewhat complete opposite. Bear in mind, we don't draft legal agreements particularly as such. So I see that as a benefit and a positive. But for example, we use Xero, as a number of people on this call will, and Xero integrates quite nicely with a product called Dext. And with Dext, you just email a PDF and off it goes, and suddenly it sits into Xero. So just taking that example, and this is not meant in a disrespectful way, so apologise if it comes across like that. Why should we look at something like Nexia in that example? I can't see where the time saving would be.
Yeah, Paul, that's a great question, because I can tell you quite simply, every platform today has an AI agent. Xero has one. I use Xero, and we show Xero because it's so common that most people know Xero, right? Yeah. But I could show you Dynamics, I could show you different things, GP, and you name it. But Xero is just common. That's why it's in the platform for people to see it. But where the value of the agent is your business process. Okay, Xero is tied to your finance system. And this is not. I can tell you that I can use that invoicing that I'm getting there to do whatever I like. I can send it to different systems that you need. I can email that to your clients. I could pick up back reply. I could validate. I could get my agent entering a conversation with you about why are you sending me this invoice? That invoice is wrong. It shouldn't be booked to the account because it doesn't go into your budget. I don't know. So what we do in Nexia is not a Xero solution. We don't do Salesforce. We don't do Microsoft Dynamics. We do your business process. Okay. So if you have a business process that goes across more than one system, then you need to talk to us. But if you're happy with Xero today, by all means, keep using it, because it is a fantastic platform for sure. It's like the conversation with Copilot. We have a few clients that have Copilot. We have a few clients that have deployed Claude across the whole organization. And the conversation starts with, what's the value that you bring? And I just show this as well. Do this with Copilot if you can.
Thank you.
And the answer is they can't.
But I'm going to quickly jump in before your question. I just want to take a photo of everyone. I know it's everyone's favourite part, but if you could pop your cameras on and give me a smile or a wave, whatever you want to do. It's going to take me a few goes because there's 3 pages of you, so just keep the smile for a little bit. Okay. But 3, 2, 1, and then to the next page. Thank you guys. Let it load. And another one, 3, 2, 1. And finally, the last one, I promise. And letting it load. And 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everyone. Carry on.
I think Bart, I have a question.
Yes, indeed. So, well, actually, it's a question and a comment. So, building on to what Peter and Ricardo were saying, and Paul, you as well, I think when you implement like AI tools. We've been looking at this space for like 3 years, and it really depends on actually the process and the actual work that needs to be done. Within our law firm, we have different processes. Like we have one for contract review. We do a lot of online brand protection. So that means scraping content from websites, looking what's on there, making screenshots, doing assessments on whether these goods are actually counterfeit goods or not. And then you can clearly see that you need different horses for different courses. So having a blanket implementation of, I would say, the Opus suite from Anthropic or ChatGPT, OpenAI, that simply doesn't work. So if you want to build AI into your organization, it's really key, as we have experienced, to look at your business processes. So how, Fabio, how does your organization deal with that?
Yeah, Bart, again, very, very interesting. So for us, we are agnostic, and I didn't show you in my demo here, but every one of those agents can run with any model you like. Okay, I have these agents running with When, which is an open source model. I have these agents running with Gemini. I have these agents running with OpenAI, with Anthropic. They are independent. You can pick the one you like. And the reason why we do that is because I think there will be, in fact, today, there are LLMs that are better for certain things than others. And sometimes there is a massive cost difference in some of this. Some of these business processes today are fairly simple now. And you potentially don't need the OpenAI 5.3 super duper thinking thing, because you'll be paying tokens. I didn't show you today, but each one of those agents, you can see exactly the consumption that they had. And I can tell you in dollar amounts on how much this costed me today, very, very easily, right? Because we can see all the tokens, we can see all the consumption. So you can imagine, as an enterprise, being able to report per user and consumption. So that's one point. So we are agnostic, and each agent runs in its own virtual environment, if you will, which can be done with any model. Okay, so that's one point. Point two is that the platform is coded for you. So what you see here, there is code behind this, and that's why it's so reliable, and that's why I'm comfortable in actually doing the demos. And you ask me to do something there, I'll go in and do it, and they work. They work because a lot of the so there are a few things. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't want to get into the technical space, but there are a few things that LLMs are not very good at doing. Generating user interfaces, they are really bad because they get a half right or almost 80% right, and 80% is just not good enough. Reports. We had a client that came to us, and he was trying to do these reports, and I said, I get 85-90% of my reports right. That's just not good enough for my company. It needs to be 100%. It's a report, it's a record. So we built for them an agent it does that same report over and over again across any document you like, and they look identical. Okay, they contain exactly the information you want, as if it was done by a human. So the second point is that this is a custom agent for you. It will do exactly what you tell it to do.
And maybe a follow-on comment to that. So that really depends, of course, on what your definition of right is. I'm fairly happy with an output from one of our agents that is at 85%, because I want to take a look at it. I want to quality control it myself, and then of course you can over-engineer things in order to get it up to 100%, and even then you have to take a look at it. So. The approach that we took was really pretty lightweight. So I can say we process around 50 contracts on a monthly basis. the cost of that for us is less than $100. So this is a no-brainer to put in place. So where in the beginning we had juniors drafting these things, getting copies from left to right and trying to copy paste stuff in order to build something that looked to them as a good end product. Well, we're retraining them now in order to interact with our systems, so that they can go from the 80% to the 95%, and I add the last 5% on top, because in the end it's my responsibility. So so this is the way how we're dealing with it. And then basically to Peter's point, well, we're talking within our firm. It's not a big firm, so don't get me wrong, but with 50 contracts and with about, I would say, 2,500 assessments on what happens online, we're talking about for $500 on a monthly basis in terms of cost. If you look at the upside to that, well, I easily save in terms of time that I'm spending on a contract. I'm easily down 60%. Up to 70, sometimes even 75%. So then cost doesn't become an issue. Then it's really looking at margins.
Yeah, because at the moment, Bart, I think that you have a low volume, a high transaction value. But the client that I was referring to, they have a high volume, thousands, and low transaction value. So for them, the $1 they pay per transaction, it's expensive. So again, horses for courses across the board, right? You're dealing with a contract which has a certain value. Perfect. So going back to the conversation of 100%, in everything that we do, I didn't touch on that. There is this concept of a system of records. Okay, so the agent has a sandpit. In the sandpit, the agent can do whatever they like. They can create files. They can show you what there is. There's a point in time where you want to move from the sandpit into your system of records. Okay, so uploading the final copy of the revised document to your legal system, that is a system of records. And that point in time, you will be asked as a human to review that work and to press the button. But what I'm saying is that that work is going to look 100% the same every single time. And for you to approve it will become second nature, to a point where I think that, give it a couple of years, you won't have to approve it. You'll be so reliable to a point that it just works. Clearly today, I would not recommend to anyone to do a system of records update with an AI system without checking the content, because they sometimes do go wild, and it's interesting.
Fabio, there's a question for you in the chat from Val. Do you think it's worth the effort to build one in-house?
Depends on your sizing. The answer. So I'm going to put my CIO hat. So I run technical teams. I know the space. The biggest issue you'll have is to retain that knowledge. Okay, so it depends on your size. So if you have a very large company, I'd say you need to start building up some of the skills you need to be able to support it. But they are unlikely to be in the leading edge of some of this work, because they need to be doing this over and over again.
I'm
the fact that we get a lot of experience.
Something shortly with GLE, Global Law Experts. So
sorry, is that a question? Sorry, I think it's just someone.
See my message to John. Yeah, I'm on the IO Global thing right now.
Can we? Could Peter, we mute that person?
Guys, can we?
Yeah, Peter, I think you're not on mute, mate. There we go.
Okay.
Right. Yep. Sorry, Nicole, I missed the question. Now, can we go back to the question? I forgot.
Yeah, we've only got 5 minutes left. So, but is it worth building in-house?
Depends on your team. Depends on your size. For a small business, never. In a small business environment, you are not going to be able to keep up. So if you have an IT team and if you have development capability in your IT team, then I'd say yes, you need, in fact, you should be building some. You should be building some expertise in-house and then complement that with external consultants to keep on the leading edge. But it depends entirely on your business. I am the CIO for just on segmenting those. There's 3 small companies that they do not have any IT team in-house. They outsource everything. In that particular case, it would be a mistake for those companies to have their own AI team. It's just not worthwhile. They're not going to be able to keep up. But if you have a large bank, it changes.
Can I clarify? I think Fabio's solution is still what I would consider an in-house build. He's coming in, he's building something specific for you, as opposed to you paying for a complete off-the-shelf system, like a co-counsel, like a Harvey, like a Legora. So I would go to Fabio. This is what I need. Build me the agent, and then we'll work on populating or training the agent. So that to me is still an in-house build. I mean, they call it, they really refer to it as a plumbing problem, and this is what Fabio is talking about. I mean, implementing the agent, 80% of it is building the infrastructure, 20% of it is dumping your good data in the agent so it can use it effectively to create what you want. So I agree 100%. You need technical team. You need people that are up to date on current trends to build out the plumbing. Fabio's doing that, but he's building a custom agent rather than me going and buying something off the shelf where I'm paying anywhere from $400 to $1,000 per seat.
Thanks, Robert. And then can we quickly go to Setane? I believe you have a question as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Fabio, for the presentation. I have a question regarding the data privacy part of this. I mean, I'm a young lawyer. I am in Turkey, in Istanbul, but I still, till this day, didn't upload any agreement to ChatGPT or Gemini, because each time I feel like I'm going to share the private data of my clients with the big data, and this is the hardest part for me. And I would like to learn about data storage for the next year. How do you handle the risk of sharing your clients' information? How do
thank you.
we protect it?
Thank you. So Nexia is designed to be run by the company. So if your company has an IT team or an outsourced model today, they will run the Nexia machine that you just saw, the engine, internally. So everything that you saw before would be sitting in your servers where you want them to be. Right. So that's really important. And so we haven't spoken, we don't have time, but Nexia is designed for corporates. It's designed for businesses. It's not a consumer proposition. What you see today in the OpenAI space is anyone can go out there and sign up and start putting documents, which is a massive, massive risk for many, many organizations. And you're right to be concerned. Right? There are a few solutions for that. One of them is to get an enterprise licensing with one of these companies, and then you can give OpenAI to everyone. But our solution is designed differently. It's designed to be within the corporate environment, right? So an employee will only have access to that if it's given access by the company. An employee's data that they upload to that will sit in the company's controlled environment, right? So they will have all the files. The files will stay in the company, with the one exception that I mentioned before on the agreement with the LLM providers. So there are 2 pieces to the Nexia solution you need to understand. One is the Nexia core, the engine, that sits in your environment. The other is the LLM. The LLM is the service provided by OpenAI and Anthropic. And for enterprises, the way you would deal with that is you would sign an agreement to use that. And that agreement guarantees that your data is secure. In the same way today, as an enterprise goes to Amazon, so I'm not sure of your client, of your company, but many companies are they have all of their systems in Amazon or Microsoft or Google. And essentially those companies signed an enterprise agreement with those companies, with Google or Microsoft or Amazon. And that enterprise agreement legally states that they are to keep that data safe and just for the purpose that is your business. That's kind of the answer to the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabio, and thank you for everyone joining. A big thank you to Robert for sponsoring this event this week, and I hope you had a great conversation. If you have any questions for Fabio, if Fabio's okay with that, I will share his details in a follow-up email with everyone, so that you can get directly in contact with him. But if you have any questions otherwise, please feel free to direct them to me and I can pass them forward to the correct person. But yeah, big thank you to everyone for joining, and I hope you had a great afternoon.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.